All right. How are we doing, guys? We have kind of changed the format of this live up very quickly at the last moment there. But I think we got this pulled together. So, with me tonight, I have Christy, Ashley, and then Kristen. Do you want to do your last name for me?
It's
I've
Jabs-Ellenberg.
Jabs-Ellenberg.
Yeah.
Um, and do you both just want to give an introduction, real quick, of who you are, what you've been doing for the last year?
Go ahead, Christy.
I just am a part of the Facebook group. At first, initially, it was a missing child in my neighborhood, like half hour from me. I got brought into it from that, and then it was a Facebook group. And a year later, here we are, still just trying to get information out. Just watching the case. Hasn't been a lot of information.
I'm the spokesperson for the family of Roman Lopez and Roman Lopez's mother, Rochelle Lopez, and her extended family.
Now, this has gotten a decent amount of attention, but honestly, I'm surprised it hasn't gotten more attention. For those that aren't familiar, was it on January 11th, 2020,
Yes.
that 11-year-old Roman Lopez was reported missing from his home in Placerville, California?
Yes.
And then what happened was he actually ended up being found on January 11th inside of a bin inside his father and stepmother's home, which just recently, what are we, 4 days ago, 5 days ago, that Jordan and Lindsay Piper, his father and stepmother, were arrested. And there's been a lot of confusion and vague areas when it comes to this case, mainly due to the investigation and just the secrecy kind of surrounding what happened. There's a couple reasons why I even wanted to touch on this, and that's because, for one, I've seen a lot of confusion over the situation, and for two, I do think it's a very important case. My initial reaction is that this is a 100% repeat of Gabriel Fernandez. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of walk everybody through the timeline of January 11th, 2020 to the actual arrest. So what I'll do is I'm going to show you guys clips of what was going on back at that time, and then we'll come back and then we'll hear from Christy and Kristen what was going on the ground at that time and what was going on with the family and everything, and try and put a little bit more, I guess, closure for some people, because there was the people that did get involved. I gotta admit, like, Christy runs the Facebook group. Christy, what's your full Facebook group name?
It just changed. Roman Lopez, Placerville discussion group.
Which, by the way, that group is in the description of this
The
video.
link is in there.
On Facebook and YouTube, that description is in the, or that link is in the description. On Periscope, you would have to hop over to Facebook or YouTube to get that link. But so what we'll start off with is January 12th. This is the initial discovery of Roman being found and the initial police statement related.
At this time, we're conducting an investigation into his suspicious death. The event is very tragic for all involved, and we appreciate your patience while we conduct a thorough investigation. We would like to thank the El Dorado County Sheriff's Department, the El Dorado County District Attorney's Office for their assistance with the investigation. We'll keep you updated with information as it becomes available via our social media sites. If anyone has information regarding this case, we ask that you please call Detective Luke Godow at 530-642-5210, extension 116. At this time, we will not be taking any questions, and we thank you guys for attending.
So right there, when the initial police statement and everything came out, what was going on at that point?
That's the point where they had just found him I believe, right, Christy? Like right after they found him, they
Right.
believed he was missing up until then, and then they found him in the home, and then they announced that they found him in the home. Right? I'm trying to remember way back then. Yeah.
Right. There was a gap from the initial call.
Mhm.
It was all day and into the night. So now
All
we're looking
day.
at January 12th.
And it was like, I can't remember. I honestly can't remember if they mentioned it the next morning when they announced they found him.
It was the next
right?
morning at 11. Yep. So January 12th, the announcement was made. It vaguely
Right.
in the home, not a description of basement, or it was just in the
Right.
home for months. It was said like that.
That never even, the fact that he was found in the home actually never came out until last week, officially.
Because, and Placerville,
Okay,
Placerville is not a big city, I'm guessing.
No,
So
not at all. It's small, close-knit community.
So there was inner buzz going on. There was inner talking going on, and trying to figure out what was going on.
Neighbors.
The mayor lives across the street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that, all right.
Or the former mayor, I should say. He's not the mayor anymore.
But basically at this point, at January 12th, there's not a whole lot, which, I mean, still there really isn't a whole lot of information. I actually do even have the actual press release from the Placerville Police Department, and even I would say, is this about when they started letting out a little bit more details to the situation?
Yeah,
like
definitely.
So up to this point of the actual press release, it had been pretty quiet all around.
Yes.
Right.
And then that's another thing that people I have seen talk about, because there was an autopsy done pretty quickly. It was done by, I believe it was January 14th or January 15th.
Yeah, that's
right. No
right.
Information released.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there was also a toxicology report, which took longer, and that also has yet to be released.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. And real quick, that's one thing, because there's been a lot of talks about the actual charges, which actually we'll go back to this real quick and pull up both of them. Jordan is currently being held on a basically $1 million bond with torture to a child, cruelty, torture. Oh, there was an airplane. Torture, failure to provide after adjudication. And then we also have Lindsay, who is on a $1.3 million bond for child cruelty, torture, willful poisoning, because now they haven't got into details on this, but it is said that there was some sort of poisoning going on with Roman. Now, a lot of people are mad that they don't see a murder charge right now. And one thing that needs to be understood is that, first off, the torture charge is a life in prison charge. Mm-hmm. It can be up to a life in prison. So right now, just because you're not seeing murder on those charges, that doesn't mean that they're not in some serious legal trouble. Another thing is that this is not that abnormal for a case like this, where they basically, do either of you two know how long it was before they left Placerville after Roman's death?
It's June or July.
So they turned
out, Christy. Right, yeah.
Right.
Jordan Piper was a lineman, and so it was he traveled, and so they definitely traveled, and you did get different jurisdictions going on. But the fact of the matter is, they now have them in a jail. They can't keep on running, and so now they can take the time they need to add on whatever charges. So at this point, it's not the end of the road. They could still tack murder on. They might still be looking for a couple more things, one of them to throw the other one under the bus. There's a few different things that could still happen as far as charges being added on. And once again, the charges they already have do face up to a lifetime in jail. Both of them did plead not guilty. Was that yesterday?
Yesterday, yeah. And you have to also remember with the murder charge. As soon as that happens, I mean, their right to speedy trial, like they don't want to rush any kind of trial or anything. They could invoke that right. And so if they invoked that right and they have a murder charge on there and they're not quite ready and they don't have all of the evidence gathered to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt, they didn't want to take that chance, I'm sure.
Janice, he was the biological son of the father, Jordan. Lindsay Piper was the stepmother. And then, man, do we even... So there is another confusing part. Maybe we should just try and get this part out of the way right now. And Christy, this is where you come in. So all in all, there was 7 children, aside from Roman, in this house. 4 of the children were Lindsay's children with another... Were they all with other men, or was one of them with Jordan?
One man.
So they were all had a different father. Then there was Roman, who had a different mother. And then there was 3 children that were just kind of given to Lindsay.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Do you?
They were 7. They were 7, 2, and 1. The 7-year-old went with Lindsay about 3 years prior, and then as the 2 and 1-year-old came shortly after leaving the hospital. I know the youngest at 9 days, so they had been with Lindsay the duration of their lives, the younger 2.
I did see that they had 9 days on one of them. Now and then
9 days, yeah.
And there'd been kind of a back and forth on. I noticed it looked like the mother, Kira, is it? It looked like she was
Jordan. If I could interrupt, Jordan moved with his lineman job to California, a little farther away, Lake Tahoe area.
Which actually,
January
and that is
January 2019.
That is important. That part, which I apologize to everybody for that. This happened in Michigan, where Lindsay was given custody of these other 3 children.
Correct.
So that was
January 2019.
That is important. I got an echo there.
Sorry, that was my phone. I didn't turn it off. Sorry.
So yeah, Jordan, or Lindsay. I'm sorry, Lindsay got custody of these 3 children in Michigan, and then they all moved to California, which Placerville is in California, in case anybody didn't know that. So maybe that makes a little bit more sense now with what you were saying on him moving as a lineman.
Right. She had possession of the children since birth. She filed for custody in July of 2019. Jordan had come to California 6 months prior for work. So Roman stayed behind in Michigan with Lindsay and her 4 plus the 3 other, the smallest, with her mother, with Lindsay's mother. So Roman stayed behind for 10 months prior to coming to California with Lindsay.
And so at that point, all 7 other children were removed from Lindsay and Jordan's custody once Roman was found dead.
Yes.
And I believe the other 3 children that were not biological to either of them, that's still just up in the air. They didn't, because at that point their biological mother had lost her rights or given up her rights.
Well, I mean, Lindsay had temporary physical custody. So that gave her the ability to move out of state, which was her goal, so to follow the husband for work. So it wasn't a permanent situation. I don't really know the ins and outs on that. I do know that those children are now back in Michigan with a foster family, and by all accounts doing well. And that's that for them. As far as bringing them back now at this point for any use on further charges, whatever the interviews that were grabbed at that time, that's it. Too much time has passed. Hopefully they don't, at least the younger ones wouldn't even remember much of what they lived through.
Right. So I think that is.
But we're not touching on the three youngest at this point. Certainly thankful that they are where they are, and excuse me, and safe. Um,
Right, and that's just more of a.
and there's a restraining order in place, so Lindsay seeing the kids is not an option. They'll never see her again, and that's just what.
I think we actually have the
keeping the
video
faith.
of the court hearing.
I've saw that I am not allowed to record the court hearings. So
No, I'm talking about the one in Michigan where they actually told Lindsay, you cannot contact these children any longer. I have the
Oh.
video. I've posted it. Yeah.
Okay. That's
Because
good
that
to
was a
know.
different, that I'll have to send it to you. It's in the group, I think.
After she's pleaded guilty to her negligence in the abuse of the younger three, a quote from the judge, "Now why on earth would I give him back to you?" And that was a wrap. So
Well, and one of the reasons why I even wanted to touch on that was another thing where I saw confusion, and honestly, I was confused at first because, how the hell did you end up with all of these kids from all across the country
you
under
know,
these? It's
if their parents aren't pushing the issue, and their parents were not, it's just easier than you think. Sadly,
right.
Yeah.
I do know that was a confusing point, though, especially when you get into the three children where there is absolutely no biological relation because
you know, I really, there was a flaw. Lindsay got custody of those kids. She was under investigation in another county on other issues for dating back years in another county. So there has to be a system in place where just pulling them out of school and bouncing to the next county can't be a thing.
so that
Because had they had a big database to be able to look across the state, across the country, and see that there have been red flags and issues before, they would have looked into the family a little further before signing off on allowing her to take other people's children across state lines. That was an absolute fault on the department.
right, and
The system's not in place.
that's not like that. This is a first time situation of something like that happening
Not at
either.
all.
It is very easy to just pick up and move to the next county, and then you get to go on. Marie, they weren't exactly fosters. They were longtime friends, and it's like Christy just said, honestly, she just kind of found a loophole and got in there and got control over these other three children and started taking them with them around the country. Well, I guess not too much around the country because it was two different places in California before.
I know of 2 counties in Michigan.
Okay,
The
so
one where
I
they
know.
lived, the one
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so it really wasn't. It's not it is an awkward situation. It is a confusing situation, especially when you just look at that top layer and try and take in all of the people involved. It's a little confusing. But that's really
There's a flow chart out there somewhere. I know, no joke. Christy made one. Yeah, no, she really did make one in the beginning. Like said, yeah.
I can appreciate that because there's just a lot of players involved.
I had to build an ancestry family tree for this chaos.
On Lindsay's side with the biological father of the children, is there anything to really touch on there?
Nope.
No, he's working with reunification right now with the kids. He's a great dad.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, he was a victim of Lindsay's antics for years. Lindsay dragged him, and he did not deserve a damn thing that he got. And I wish him and his kids the best and for their relationship and mending and going forward. There's so many victims in this whole situation because of just how awful Lindsay and Jordan were. But Lindsay, I'm talking about Lindsay especially right now, what she put the father of her children through. I mean, it's just insane. He's a great dad. He's a great person. He's a veteran. He's a hard worker, one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. So it's really, there's so many heart-wrenching parts of this whole entire thing. And that's just another piece of the puzzle of the harm that she's caused to people.
Linda, I will say that's a decent question. Is it known, was she able to collect any sort of financial government assistance or anything from having the other 3 non-biological?
She did not up until July of 2019 when she filed for custody. That cut the biological mother was receiving aid, and so apparently she was keeping WIC benefits and food stamps and stuff, the birth mother. But when Lindsay filed for custody in 2019 July, that cut the birth mother off. So at that time, she would have been eligible for some sort of aid. But with Jordan's income, I'm not 100% sure because she didn't go in as a foster. She went in as a legal guardian. So there isn't the obligation to have payouts. But there is some question of whether there was some SSI going on.
Right.
Oh, also,
younger
I actually saw today the biological mother of those kids say that Lindsay had filed for child support, to receive child support for them, I guess.
Okay.
And she was going to make sure she remedied that tomorrow because Lindsay's in jail. So been arrested and just going to let him know. I just saw that today in a comment.
Lex, no, and anybody that just hopped on, no, at this time they are not charged with murder. Again, they do have a torture charge that carries a life in prison, but at this time there are still things going on in the case where these charges can change. I can't stress that enough. It's very common for people to get arrested with basic charges and later on them to be added to, escalated to whatever the prosecution, the district attorney thinks that they can get to stick. If they too quickly charge them with murder, then don't have the evidence to prove that, it's done. They get to walk out. Like, they lose the case. There is no justice at that point. With this torture charge and the other child abuse charges, that's serious jail time. And that's something that apparently the district attorney feels that they can prove, so they have to go up for what they can get them for, or else they're going to walk free. So, and that's the same when it comes to like first, second, third degree murder, stuff like that. You may think that it should be a first degree. Sometimes it has to be a second degree in order for the district attorney to be able to win that case. So that's part of our legal system, guys. But that's definitely something that I did want to, again, one of the main things I wanted to clear up. Like, it's okay that you're not seeing a murder charge right now. It's 100% okay that you're not seeing a murder charge at this point.
And Roman's family understands that as well. They're not upset about that. They fully understand what's going on,
and you know that's really the main people right there that need to, you know, kind of guide. This is wrong. This is right. Yeah, that's if they're cool with everything that's going on right now, then everybody else needs to just follow their lead and be cool with what's going on right now. Let me go ahead and see what we got up here next. I think this is January 14th of 2020.
Loss no parent should ever have to bear. But tonight we're hearing from the woman who says she's the mom of the 11-year-old Placerville boy found dead over the weekend.
Just as shocking, she says nobody even told her about his death. Let's get more now. CBS 13's Marissa Perlman is live in Placerville digging on this story. What do we know, Marissa?
Yeah, well, Tony, we've been covering this story all week, and we told you about the signs, the entire Placerville community out here looking for this little boy. And then on Sunday, police say they found his body, calling his death suspicious. Now the community and Shelly Lopez, who says she is Roman's biological mom, wants to know what happened inside this house where he was living.
He didn't deserve this, and I wish I could have been there. Maybe I could have stopped it.
Shelly Lopez speaks with us from her family's home in Wisconsin. Lopez, who tells CBS 13 she is Roman Lopez's biological mother, says she's been fighting to see Roman his entire life.
I told Roman that I would, do everything I can to be with him again.
Lopez says she was deployed to Iraq when Roman was less than a year old and has dealt with addiction to pain medication.
And I felt like Roman deserved a mom who is worthy of him.
She says Roman's father took custody and has kept her son away from her for the last 2 years.
So I'm sitting here trying to follow him from state to state to state so I could be with my son.
She says last month he suddenly took Roman, his siblings, and other children his wife is taking care of and left their Michigan home. It wasn't until Lopez's family saw an article online that she learned about his death.
And that was the last thing I was expecting to hear.
Police say Roman's body was discovered during a search. Just how he died remains a mystery for now. Lopez says she hasn't heard from police or Roman's father about his death.
It's like they didn't even know that I was his mom.
She remembers the last time she spoke with the boy she calls goofy and smart. The last picture she ever received shown here. Tonight, she's demanding answers about what happened to her son.
And I told Roman that I would always love him and I will always fight for him. But that was the last time I ever even got to talk to him.
Well, these are those signs we were talking about, again, bringing the entire community out over the weekend to look for this 11-year-old boy. Now, a lot left to learn about what happened here. Neighbors say they've seen the 5 oldest children playing in the backyard right here near the family home, but have rarely seen the parents outside. So, again, a lot left to learn from Placerville police as they continue their investigation.
Yeah, and for that mom, estranged or not, what a horrible way to find out.
Yeah.
Marissa, thanks. We'll see you again with more on this developing story.
So, one thing, and that's kind of what we were just touching on all around. This also has 2 separate issues of parental alienation going on. On one side, you had Lindsay alienating the father of their 4 children, and on the other side, you had Jordan alienating Shelley from Roman. Is there really much on that you want to go into, Kristen?
I mean, other than the fact that, Roman was really lucky right after Jordan and Shelley split. I don't know the exact timeline, but Jordan was with somebody who was really, really wonderful and was an amazing stepmother to Roman. He had, when he was keeping Shelley kind of away from Roman, that the stepmom that he had at that time was actually trying to help Rochelle. She's a really amazing, selfless lady. And after that, after they had split, it went downhill, and it just became harder and harder because there was nobody really in Shelley's corner on his side like there was before, if that makes sense. So then he meets Lindsay and he starts moving all sorts of everywhere. It's hard to keep track of him. It's just when people do that in the courts, they don't make people be accountable for every time they move. Like literally, you're supposed to let the other parent know when you move, and like this wasn't happening, and he wasn't getting penalized for it in any way. There's so much reform that can be done here in situations like this to help try to like avoid something like this happening. I wouldn't even know where to start because there's so much, but Shelley did fight for him. And Jordan just made that impossible. Between being in the military and then dealing with her injury and everything, and on top of it, having to fight for her child, I can't even imagine. She's stronger than I probably would ever be. I know co-parenting with a narcissist is hell on earth, and I know that for a fact. But and I think Kirsty knows too, because and knows people who do and whatever. It's not an easy thing to do.
Well, and then it's also odd because you're talking about technically you're talking about 2 different veterans that were completely alienated out of their children's lives. So that's definitely, there are a lot of, it's definitely not just a black and white issue here. This is a very intricate, and I don't know. It's a very intricate and delicate situation.
Yeah, you could see, I mean, if you look at the pictures of Roman and Shelley, there's one right here. I mean, the love, I mean, how happy he was and with her. It was just such an injustice that that Jordan was able to alienate her from him.
I think we may have just been booted from Facebook.
Oh no.
Yeah. Okay, apparently we were booted from Facebook, but we still have our YouTube audience. I'll just share out a new link with the YouTube link. We're not going to start over or anything like that. So then and we've done just about everything there is, or that we can, on the father of Lindsay's children. So I guess we'll just move along, and I'll get this link shared out. That Facebook thing is really frustrating at times. Christy, yeah, I know with your group, you've had a whole bunch of problems when it comes to being reported and...
Yeah, I'm trying to be good right now. My son's deployed. I need Messenger to talk to him, so...
Well, hopefully.
Pain in the ass, for sure.
Hopefully I'm not in the slammer, but I'm not even sure why. It's actually telling me that my video is blocked on Facebook, so I guess I'll deal with that later. So apologies to Facebook viewers popping over from YouTube, or popping over to YouTube, and we will just carry right along.
Working in Placerville since October, he noticed Jordan Piper left work around 11 a.m.
He had a family emergency. He had to run home.
About 3 hours later, Hinton got a text message from Piper with photos of Roman. Hinton met Piper to start searching.
You could tell that he was crying. You could tell that he was shook up. He told us that his son they believe he ran away, that they're certain that he left between midnight and 6 a.m.
40 coworkers helped search until around 10:30 at night.
Looking in dumpsters, looking in garages, trailers.
With their job in Placerville now done, Hinton is on the road heading back home to Ohio. He says he's shocked that the search ended with police finding Roman's body.
I don't know that it's set in. We went from having a normal day on the job to next thing you know, I'm checking dumpsters and sheds and garages, and walking through the woods with a flashlight looking for a missing 11-year-old kid, scared to death of what I might find.
In Placerville, Marley Martinez, KCRA 3 News.
Okay, so there we're still in like the initial moments, because that's one thing too. So this was a missing child case at the beginning.
So the Jordan supervisor, Hal, was the one who actually got the search together.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was, do you know off the top of your head how long it was even dealt with as a missing person? It was just, it wasn't even a full 12 hours, was it?
Right.
No, so her story was that they got up in the morning, they noticed he's missing. She gets, what did she say? She gets all the kids in the car to go to the police station to make a report when they couldn't find him around the perimeter of the house. Is that right, Christy?
Right.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Right. They drove around. They drove
why
around.
You would get,
they went to the precinct.
Yeah.
Drove around, or they drove down to the precinct instead of calling 911. Drove to the precinct.
Right.
It was a Saturday, so it was closed. So then they just drove around some more until they found a patrol car.
And like why you would put all of the kids in the car when you're looking for a missing child to go to the police and not have at least, I don't know, the one that's 17 years old at least stay behind in case he shows up is just like beyond me. So yeah, that's basically how it happened. And then Jordan gets a call at work from Lindsay saying Roman's missing. And then he does the whole freak out. I have to go. My kid's missing. And then Jordan, he absolutely freaked out. And then he was saying he had to go, but, my understanding was that people he worked with were offering like searches and this and that. And he was just like kind of pushing it off, that any of the help that people were offering.
Right.
So the posters
reporting
went up.
him as missing initially to police, it made it more sound like he was a runaway. He'll be home by dinner. Like, this is just a thing, no big deal. So I don't think that they initially jumped on it because he downplayed it like it was just the norm. He just runs away. It's just his thing. However, it was very cold here that day. It was 34 degrees that day. So
oh man,
he was not in a familiar environment. It's just not a place where a kid would just go freely wander in a new place on a really cold day. It just didn't make sense at all initially.
And even then, you're talking about the sort of temperature where even if a kid did go free wandering, I mean, you can die in that temperature, especially.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't a day for outside play. I mean, unless you were really bundled, like maybe he had proper snow gear. He is from Michigan. It's possible. But my thoughts, 11-year-old boy is going to stay in and play on a device. They are not going to just go wander the streets in this area. It's not where there's sidewalks. It's just not, I don't know. I've had 11-year-old boys. It's just not a thing. So for me, the mom and it's like, I'm thinking like, no way. He just wouldn't. It's too cold. Nope. So my take on it actually was that
he was also only 60 pounds.
Oh, sorry.
60 pounds, Roman.
Yeah. Oh, Roman was also 60 pounds. I mean, he's not going to be out there in the cold.
And that is one thing that, like, there was some, and I know this is one of those areas that we're gonna definitely be very, very softly touched on for the time being, because there's just as the court trial goes through, some of the darker sides of this case will come forward. We'll say, for lack of better terms. But I've seen a lot of claims of malnourishment, underweight, signs that this was not just a one-time incident. As far as malnourishment, anything like that, are we able to touch on that at all? Is that something that has been confirmed at this point?
Yep. Chief Wren said so in the press conference last week. Said that he was severely malnourished.
And you do have Lindsay with a charge of poisoning as well, so that could, obviously, if she was poisoning him on some level, then it would be impossible, basically physically impossible for him to be at any sort of proper nourishment or even weight class, depending on what she was poisoning with him, how long she had been.
And then Roman was also, before he went primarily with Lindsay Jordan, was in the 90th percentile and all of, like, when they do the growth charts and all that sort of thing, like the weight, height, head circumference when you have a child. He was always in the 90th percentile. He was malnourished, and then, the other kids were not.
Right. And that
I don't know about I can't actually, I take that back. I don't want to say that the younger three were not, because I'm not sure, but I know that that Lindsay's kids were healthy.
To my understanding, it kind of has the vibe that Lindsay's children quite possibly lived a different life than the other children that were in the house. But that's something too, also, as court goes through, that's just something where some of those questions will remain questions for a bit longer. But, and so at that point, where are Jordan and Lindsay at that point? Are they still, how long did they keep up the just missing scenario?
just until they found him.
I guess, or how long? Because there is.
I would say less than 18 hours. It just all happened so fast. Less than 18 hours. It wasn't. I know it wasn't a full day.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any clue on how exactly he was even found?
How do you mean?
Like, because obviously they were. I mean, did police just inevitably go through the house?
The police did a search, and then they ended up doing a second search, and I believe because maybe things weren't adding up, and they did a further search in the house, and that's when they found him.
It's been said that the Jordan and Lindsay were trying to steer people, the search party. They were steering them away from the house. No, we already checked the house, like, and kind of making that an issue. So it took longer. I mean, keeping in mind there were, 9 other people in the home of an age where they could search for an 11-year-old child in the home. So to have not found him in all that time while waiting for police, none of it makes sense. It just, from the initial call, well, it wasn't even a call, to bouncing around to the sheriff's office, to finding a patrol car, to coming back to the house. At no point did they leave, like Kristen said, leave the older children there in case Roman came back. You stay here, keep looking. There wasn't any of that. So the fact that law enforcement found them and the family did not, that was a serious red flag in the beginning. And hearing hearing neighbors saying that they were all redirected from the home.
And just a quick correction over on YouTube, and the other kids were not removed until Roman was found dead. So
correct.
It's not a why wasn't he taken when they were taken? They were taken after the death. That is what potentially saved the lives of any of those other children.
Absolutely.
So yeah, this wasn't a situation where CPS stepped in and protected some of the kids and left Roman. It wasn't anything like that. It was more of these guys just were bouncing around with a very broken system. We have a lot of issues within CPS, within family courts, within tracking abusive parents, things like that. It is very simple to just pack up and move to another county, and just the transfer of paperwork and even trying to get that across, that's the sort of situation. This is more of a failure of the system as a whole than it is just like one specific caseworker coming in and not noticing all the children were being abused or anything like that. This is just a failure of the current system we have put together.
Right. So not similar to the Gabriel case. There wasn't any of that where they came in California and saw it more than once and let him go back.
And that's more when I reference Gabriel, the main thing is there's some
total there absolutely is similarities for sure.
And that just goes back to some things that we won't get into. I did see on, what was it, January 17th, and initially I believe the article was on January 16th, when Lindsay Piper told the Sacramento Bee that we woke up for work like normal. Kids started waking up, breakfast started getting made. I went upstairs to get Roman, and he was not in his bed. So at the very least, they were, Lindsay at the very least was still claiming to basically her innocence. 5 days after Roman was found dead. I feel like that's important to note as well, especially with them both just entering the non-guilty plea yesterday. And then where are we on court?
Today they had they were supposed to set it for a preliminary hearing date today. But the defense said they needed more time to look over discovery and whatnot, said it may take a while. So they set it for March 8th will be the day that they set the future preliminary hearing. So they don't even have a date for the preliminary hearing at all, but Jordan and Lindsay waived their time to get the preliminary hearing within 14 days of arraignment. So that's fine. That's why it's fine being pushed out.
Right. And with there's, I don't know if I'll do this video because it's a bit longer, but it's basic police statements. And I don't know, now that I think about it, the real problem is that for the last year, the police have not said anything. I mean, there's really been no new information before the actual arrest of Jordan and Lindsay. Is that, like, especially because this did grab, it didn't blow up on social media, but it did grab enough. Like, has that been a pretty big issue as far as just rumors, talking? Is there any sort of rumors that need to be cleared up that you would like to be cleared up?
It was a huge issue. Like, it was an exhausting year. Like, from my side of things, just because I knew, and Roman's family knew, that the police were, working, round the clock, and they obviously got more updates than I did, but assured me that, yeah, we talked to the detective and this is what, what's going on, unless there were things that they were told that they weren't, they shouldn't be sharing outside of family or whatever, even me. But there were, I wanted to tell everybody, no, like, listen, they're working on it. And then people are like, yeah, right. Like, they're just letting it go. And so that was really frustrating. I know that a lot of people thought that Placerville police were just kind of sitting there and twiddling their thumbs, and I know that they weren't. A big issue, believe it or not, was COVID. The labs were backed up. There were, be sent to one, then had to go to another for further analysis. Every time they got the answer to one question, like, they needed to answer 5 more. That happened often. So, I mean, other than that, like, I think all of the rumors that were kind of circulating got squashed in the initial press conference after the arrest. As far as, like, they clarified where he was found, how he was found, yeah, I think those were the 2 biggest things that were 2 biggest items of speculation that were going around, was where and how he was found.
And then there's still, because they haven't released the autopsy report, it's still not exactly clear how long Roman was deceased for, is it?
I actually don't know that information to this day. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that was so. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on. I don't know if there's a whole lot more at this point while we wait for the trial, and also since we've already been booted from one platform for whatever reason. I really didn't expect that. I apologize to you two for that. I unfortunately can't control Facebook's community standards. Is there anything else, though, just at the time being, that you guys feel like is important to get out there?
Yeah, you can go first, Christy, if you have anything.
No, I think everybody's okay in watching the group. I think everybody's everybody has to be okay with how things are going. I mean, I'll admit, I was pissed off. I've been pissed off. This is my neighborhood. This is somebody's little boy. Like, this has pretty much consumed my year. This, it's just been a big deal. And initially, finding out the news they were finally arrested, like, I believed it would happen. I didn't know how, I didn't know when, but always just believing in all that whole process, and now just knowing that it's just kind of like a lot of hurry up and wait, and many people like myself, it just want to be now, and making it make sense. The mother in us all wants it to be today, but the process is working. they can't afford to get out. Those are the important key parts of this, that the system and everybody's waiting, and the patience that everybody had and the support of the community is a big deal. And so I'm just really thankful for the community for staying with this and being on top of it and making sure that Jordan and Lindsay weren't comfortable in their skin this whole year. They absolutely were not. They knew it was coming, and now that it's sitting, after spending my summer in conversations with Lindsay, I'm kind of waiting for some new.
That is one thing that I completely didn't even touch on. Again, Christy started the Facebook group for Roman Lopez. The description to go to that Facebook group and find updates, or the link to go to that Facebook group, is in the description of this, and they do a pretty good job of keeping it updated in there. I family seal of approval and everything like that, so you can go there for accurate information. But it's okay. So not only did you actually talk to Lindsay for a couple months, do I remember correctly that they were actually, or at least one of them were in the group under like a Bonnie and Clyde account or something along those lines?
Bonnie and Clyde were aliases for the birth parents of the youngest three. Lindsay did have an alias in the group. She hated me. She absolutely hated me. But I just kept poking her in her messenger, and eventually she just started chatting me up. I mean, I did a lot of like weird stuff. I just kept pushing, and I told her how sorry I was, and she just really needed someone to treat her like a victim. As long as I treated her like a victim, she would kept telling me stuff, and so I just kind of latched onto that idea. And so she did tell me some stuff that's, significant, as far as her plan to throw her husband under a bus, some plotting, with other family members, about the Rubbermaid container situation, saying that they had tried to see if they could get the lid off, but they also didn't know where he was found. So why are you doing all that? Like, that was the question I had. So why are you doing all that?
Put Morgan in it.
Yeah, that's just not good. It was a long, terrible summer, but I think some folks question my motive for it, and I can't. I don't know. I don't know. I just felt like I wasn't doing enough. I just needed to do something. I knew she had moved to my neighborhood. She was staying in a rental property for a very short time, and it was right nearby me, and I did everything in my power. I wanted to meet up with her. I wanted her comfortable. I wanted her, because she was telling me she didn't have support, and I just needed to make her feel like she did. And for a while, she shared stuff, and I think she's going to squeal. I truly believe that she will start to squeal. She's now stuck with a public defender, and he's got an attorney that he's paid for. Although I think that attorney will swallow every dime Jordan has saved between now and the end.
She is facing slightly heavier charges at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know why I felt such a need to connect with her, other than she reminded me of my birth mother, but I just needed to know more. I wanted to know more. So I did. I pushed her, as soon as the oldest daughter turned 18, I reached out to her and just left information, my phone number, contact group admin. If feeling in an unsafe space, day or night, I'll come get any one of the other kids. I wanted to make sure that was reached out there to the adult child. And so Lindsay was aware. It was actually what got Lindsay to reach out to me, is I waited till after Morgan's birthday and messaged her and told her that if she ever needed anything, to hit me up day or night. And that's when Lindsay finally responded to me. And I just flipped it. I just was the support team that she didn't have, because all of the people in the group were mean, and they would be mean to me too if I said nice things about her. So I rolled with that, and yeah.
And just
I'll never ever.
And just to be clear, anybody wondering, that conversation is being turned over to authorities. That's not.
Yeah, the relevant information was emailed prior, but just to make sure that it's in a good, clean format, I am taking my phone to them in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, they need to do an e-discovery format for trial. So
yeah. So just in case anybody's wondering, it's not like that's something she's keeping from law enforcement or anything. All of
No,
that's
no,
being
and
turned
it
over.
was something that I was absolutely keeping from the group. So that maybe this, I mean, it may even today come as a surprise that I did that. I didn't, while it was happening, I didn't share any of that information with the group.
Which, and I mean, that's smart.
I just wanted to keep her talking. I wanted to make sure that she didn't have someone in there watching because I had to have, I mean, I had to be 2 accounts. It was myself being with my 2 accounts and then trying to run that with her and make her believe that like I didn't really have any control over what the group people are doing, and unless you speak up, I don't have any way to back us. And yeah, I just was playing cheerleader and trying to keep it from the group because of course if they knew, she would know, and then it was a wrap and I just wasn't ready. But she stopped talking to me in September 12th. And that was because Jordan told her not to talk to me anymore.
And was that was just cold? Did you try and reach out to her since then?
I messaged her, I think another time October, another time in November. I just kind of wanted to see if her bubble would drop down in Messenger, and it never did. So, but she didn't block me. So there's that.
But did she actually tell you Jordan told her to stop talking to you?
Yeah. Yeah, because apparently I had contacted his mother with some information, and she told him, and he jumped on Lindsay for talking to me. So that was the end of that.
And that's one thing I've kind of gathered too, looking over some stuff. It seems like Jordan may almost be trying to play off like I feel like he's coming off as this kind of innocent guy, and Lindsay's a super evil person. I've kind of picked up.
I think that's the route he'll go.
Well, and I've picked up that vibe from like just different forums and whatnot in the last couple of days, and off the top of my head, from what I've seen, I that is another thing. Neither of these two people are innocent. Like these are not
Right. They're 100% involved together, 100%. Though if one of the pictures you did show, that was, I believe, the last picture that the family received of Roman. And as a family member of an 11-year-old, almost 12, like a month shy of his birthday, that picture should have caused some alarm with the family.
the library picture.
Yeah,
the library picture, yeah.
I can actually pull that. I can pull that up real quick.
I was to say if you need it. Yeah.
We had some discussion in the group about his wrists. So if you can like zoom in on his wrists, some of us noticed immediately, oh look, sometimes it was, oh look, he's dirty, and some of us were like, absolutely not, that's bruising. And so to me that doesn't look like a child that's healthy. His eyes are sallow, and so for me, I feel like that took time. And that was right.
Mm-hmm.
And I did some homework, and I found out that absolutely is the library. That library, I don't know when the photo was taken, but I know it was taken in Placerville. I recognize that chair and the carpet. I checked all the Michigan library's carpet to confirm. So this is Placerville's library. So we know that photo was taken within 2 months of his passing. And so for me, I just know that took time. And I also know that Lindsay had Roman for 10 months by herself before she came to California. And so I put a lot of blame on Sherry. I put a lot of blame on Jackie Piper and all the people who claim to love this child while he was being homeschooled and isolated, and this was happening to him, to not have seen the red flags and not put whatever their issues were aside to see whatever was happening here.
I will say one thing from those images is it does look like even, like, because there's, I know kids will be kids, but between the marks on the legs and the marks on the arms, it looks like there's varying levels of bruises. It doesn't look like all of them came just in one incident. It
No,
looks,
that kind of bruising, especially on the wrist, that's quite a, many different times of being tied up and whatnot. That doesn't happen overnight. And I will say to your point about Jordan, you saying that Jordan walks around, seems like this innocent guy. I mean, his close friends and his family are absolutely still delusional. They think he's innocent, and that's probably where his attitude comes from. Complete delusion. Just that picture alone, we're calling out, Jackie Piper and Sherry and everything, and totally, but like the dad, like alone, he can't claim innocence in this. Like, even let's say
absolutely not. The minute she showed
let's
up
say
with his
hypothetically that Lindsay was doing it all and Jordan was just, the breadwinner going to work every day. No, I'm sorry, that's just not how it works. I have children. Like, one of my boys comes home with a bruise, I'm like, what's that? Like, right away, like, are you okay? Jordan, you cannot look at him and claim complete innocence. He's totally culpable in all of this. All of it. Maybe, I don't know if you want to call it laziness or cruelty or whatever you want to call it. He's freaking guilty. Just as guilty.
I think, and actually, I'd even go as far as to say by the end of the trial, I can promise anybody that sees this that this is not a situation to say one is worse than the other. In some circumstances it might be, but neither Jordan nor Lindsay are innocent in
absolutely.
any way, shape, or form.
This was just a situation where two absolute sick people ended up together, and their people outside of them, I think, enabled them to be who they are. They are both responsible. Jordan, as his father, had an obligation to protect his son. Jordan participated in all of it, and they're absolutely going down together.
Let's not forget, Jordan doesn't exactly have the greatest track record. I mean, him saying, he used to say that he was shot in combat when he was in the military, and he wasn't. Like, what kind of lie is that? Why would you lie about that? And coworkers in the military with him have confirmed that is not true. Like, what kind of person lies about this kind of thing?
I've had somebody from his past come forward, our old hometown friend, come forward and say, Jordan showed up claiming to work for FBI or CIA, had a fake badge, and got his ass kicked for it. So he's just a little guy with, like, little dick energy. He's just that
something
guy.
to prove. Napoleon.
He's
complex.
a child bully. He's a tiny little man and a child bully.
On the homeschooling, which also, guys, as we're coming to an end on here, anybody watching, feel free to throw out any questions while we're still on. Roman was homeschooled, but were the rest of the kids homeschooled? Do we know that at all?
Well, I haven't seen any records of actual homeschooling, so I think it was more like just home.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah. But when I say homeschool and I'm typing a comment, I say homeschool.
Right.
Yeah. All were being homeschooled.
Gotcha. And so that's...
I just confirmed that just now.
Okay. So apparently, yes, Kate, all as Kristen just said, all the children were being homeschooled. As far as...
That's just how to fly under the radar.
Yeah, they were all pulled in 2016 and started homeschool.
Oh, wow. And see, that kind of goes back to the whole, this being a situation of systematic failures, because one would think there'd be like some sort of checking up on 8 children going out of school in 2000. Well, I guess technically at that point it'd be 5 children because she didn't have the 3 younger ones at that point.
Right.
If that timeline's correct. How long were Lindsay and Jordan together?
Well, CPS called, but then as soon as CPS would call, they'd move. As soon as CPS came calling. Yeah.
Janice, unfortunately, that is a very true statement. It is easier to hide child abuse when you do homeschooling. And that can also help lead to an abuser to go the homeschooling route. So there isn't that possibility that they're going to get caught up for what they're doing because, nobody is seeing the issue.
And Lindsay and Jordan have been together since 2015.
2015. So they have a while then in 2016. Okay. So they pulled out the kids from school together. That they were already together at that point.
Right.
Right. They met because their children excuse me, their children were in the same class.
Oh, okay. Man, I feel like we covered a pretty good amount of ground tonight. I don't know. Kristen, is there anything that you feel like we've completely skipped over? Anything that we've missed that's super relevant?
I think one thing that's important to point out about that January article in the Sacramento Bee where they interviewed Lindsay, you can see, and people can just Google this article, you can see her start her story there. It's where she would say that he would go missing a lot or hide in small places or, they would have to keep him from taking other medications. I think she said something like that. Now you can really see that she was building her lies from that point on. And that's the only interview she ever gave. So,
I got to admit, I was a little surprised by that. Because I spent a minute looking for other interviews and whatnot in between Roman's death and their arrest, and I was surprised that there's nothing. They just basically disappeared for a year. Do we
Innocent fathers don't do that.
No, they are fighting every day, looking for answers, and
Do we know much of where they were in between the death and the arrest?
There was Placerville, Carmichael,
Orangevale.
I think, right, Orangevale. I know that they were in Berkeley at the time that the arrest happened. Not at the time of the arrest, they were in Arnold, but they were staying in Berkeley.
And Roman,
and I know he worked all around. So,
which again,
he traveled for work, and I'm with the understanding that they were living in Berkeley, but he had just gone to Arnold, and I guess she went with him for the hotel stay because he went there for storm work. But as the day prior to that, they were all living in the 984 square feet home in Berkeley.
Right.
That being the 4 adults and 4 children.
And Jordan during that time also was going back and forth to Michigan during this last year.
Because that's where his it's like what did I see? He was part of the union, part of a union in Michigan.
He's a lineman.
Yeah. Okay. And then Roman.
So that explains why he was, in places like Arnold where there was no electricity and there was a big old storm and.
There's basically no reason to be there unless that you did something that helped in that situation. Roman was not the oldest, correct?
Mm-mm.
And we're not.
He was the youngest of their 5.
Right.
He was younger than Lindsay's, older than the littler 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, no, that if that makes sense, because again, guys, there was the 4
They
children on.
aged in range from 17, 15, 2 at 13, 11, 7, 2, and 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they had a whole troop, and again, 4 were Lindsay's, 1 was Roman was Jordan's, 3 were Kira's, a friend of Lindsay's, which
Mm-hmm.
I remember even just trying to figure that out at the beginning, and that part alone was just completely confusing as all hell, because there was that question. I think Christy, even just with you the other day, I was asking, how does that even happen? You can do that.
You can
Well, when you got shoulders like a quarterback, I guess, you can scare people into it.
Right.
well, I mean, when you're dealing with
That wasn't nice.
really not just 2 parents, but 3 parents. There's 2 fathers in of the younger 3. 1 mother, 1 mother, 2 fathers, and it just seems like they had other priorities. It was an arrangement that worked out. Lindsay being a friend of the family, it just worked out. She had a financial motive for it. She didn't want to raise her kids, but she was still getting the welfare benefits. So everything worked out. It's just easy. If you have somebody that will take your child and you're not contesting it, it's a simple signature. As long as the CPS isn't involved, you can just pass them on over. CPS will look into it.
Thankfully,
Maybe.
those 3.
I mean,
oh, were you gonna say? Go ahead, Christy.
yeah, just that they had moved around. I know that they had stayed with Sherry, moved away. They were living for a while in a home that was basically gutted. There was no carpet. There was no sheetrock. So they were hiding out. They must have been hiding out there to move counties, but then they moved back. I do believe Jordan stayed with Lindsay and her mother while he was getting his lineman card. And then as soon as he got his card, he took off and was pretty much gone for work. And then Lindsay, her mother, and all the kids lived together until they moved out here.
Gotcha.
So there were several moves. I knew of 2. Kristen said, I thought Kristen earlier on said maybe there was 3. So you're looking at 3 counties in Michigan, out here too. There's no reason why El Dorado County would have ever even looked into the family. El Dorado County had no idea they were here.
I will say that the other 3 kids, the non-biological, they are with a family member. I've been getting updates, like small updates about them, and they're finally starting to thrive and doing really well. So in case anybody was wondering about their well-being and whatnot, they're with an aunt that's taking really wonderful care of them. So, and that really loves them. So.
And Lindsay's kids, do we know on their was she cut from them the moment Roman was found dead? Like they never got to see them?
Never.
Again?
No.
Did they get like a visit?
Yeah, they were doing 1 hour or 2 hours a week at the office and 2 hours a week at the house, supervised by Lindsay's mother. And then all of a sudden, after the hearing where the 3 younger children, the restraining order was in place, they're not going back with Lindsay. And then shortly thereafter, Lindsay starts staying back at the house with her children, unsupervised, limitless. I had a big issue with that. I contacted CPS. They called the cops on me. I contacted the California State Ombudsman's office and had them open a case for baby because Lindsay shouldn't have got her kids back. Within 30 days of Roman's death, nobody knows how he had passed yet. The babies were already gone, and she's already back living with her kids. And that was a flaw on the department. I know they were overwhelmed. You're taking in these 7 children all at once in this small community. To spread them out in the foster homes would have really been of issue. So with having Lindsay's mom come out here and take them, I guess that was what they thought was best. But Lindsay moved right back in. She was staying at a motel here, really local, very close to the house, and visiting, and her car basically never left. And then she just never left, and they all stayed together. And then the baby boy was born in March, and so there's been an infant in the home ever since.
Well, not to mention, on the note of the just issues that come from taking in that many kids at once in a town that size, I mean, that is a pretty heavy hit for a smaller town's foster system. Just here's 7 kids that we need to place right now. There is also the legal aspects, the biological aspects that you are talking about, these other sets of parents around the country. So now they got to start figuring out legally, are we even supposed to place them? Do we need to contact these parents? Who are these parents? Where are these kids supposed to be right now? So that, yeah, there's this.
Well, at the time the younger children, or at the time the children were taken, they hadn't lived in California or even El Dorado County for 6 months. So El Dorado County really couldn't take jurisdiction on them. They had to go back to Michigan. That wasn't really anything that was of dispute. My issue was that Lindsay got hers back so soon.
Oh yeah, no, that's
Within 30 days. For me, that's unacceptable. That's something that's burned me. And the fact that Jordan was allowed to be around the home and present, why there wasn't immediately a restraining order put in place. Like, I have some issues with all that stuff. Yeah.
And that, I think, is also, that's just part of those system failures that we have, and unfortunately do see all too commonly all around the country.
Yeah. And I mean, Lindsay, she enabled, Lindsay walked Morgan right back to her abuser, basically, Jordan, and talked to, and encouraged her not to press charges, and Jordan moved back into the home. And that's coming
I had a conversation with Lindsay about exactly what Kristen was talking about, and I asked her why they hadn't filed charges. She said, I wasn't aware that we could. Like, who the hell has a teenage daughter and you don't know this?
Mm-hmm.
That's the excuse that she was giving to me. And so the DA really, I mean, when she's 17, if she's not going to testify, DA can't just pick up charges there. So without the help from Morgan, the victim, that's just not ever going to come to any charges. But just the fact that Lindy that just wants to put those kind of silly things out, and in her mind rationalizes, well, I didn't know I could. The hell? Like, I that's a serious misstep in her ability to keep her children safe and make decent judgments for them. So I was really confused as why other arrangements weren't made. So we've got 3 going back to Michigan. Now there's 4. Why can't we play 5? Because baby came March. Why are we not placing these 5? Spread them out. Send one to Sacramento County. Maybe 2 go with a grandparent, and to just kind of shift the weight there. But to just be aware that Lindsay was back in that house. Multiple calls were made with concern, and that's a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how
she allowed her daughter. Yeah.
As far as were the other children aware of the abuse of Roman? Were they also abused? I would go with it was not a safe or healthy situation for anybody in that house, as far as I would say right at this moment. Jordan and Lindsay just don't need children in their care. Plain and simple. There's something seriously wrong with them, and that's just one of those things that's more like that would probably be an after trial sort of question. But
they filmed the abuse. I mean, some of this abuse was filmed. Everyone knew.
Yeah, it was definitely they don't need access to anybody's children, including their own.
the issue with CPS is their screw up for the last year. Those kids, Lindsay's other children could have been getting a treatment for a year. The right kind of treatment without the influence of their mother.
Mm-hmm. So now we have a year that we have to make up
from,
for.
Right. That's another year that those kids had her, and the way she is and the way she scares people into doing whatever she wants them to do, or else her children, her daughter had a baby and didn't run. And for me, that speaks volumes about how damaged they are. And absolutely, I believe those children should have had the right and the opportunity to inpatient treatment if that's what they needed at that time a year ago. Going back to their mother was the absolute worst possible decision that anyone could have made. Those missteps, they were finally aware of previous accusations from CPS. So they're reading now reports from Michigan, and at no point did anyone in the CPS or the ombudsman's office, for that matter, step in and say, you know what, we made the wrong choice. Lindsay didn't work into supervised visitation with her children. She didn't work into overnight visits. She just showed up, never left, and she should have had the right consequences through Child Protective Services for completely ignoring what they had to say, instead of them rolling over and siding with her and conforming with her as well.
I know parents who...
She's a master manipulator. She manipulated everybody in her path. So if she's not manipulating you, she's threatening you. That's who she'd be. She's one or the other. She's got a motive. She's about herself. She would throw those kids up under the bus to save herself. So I wouldn't 100%. Be surprised that if she couldn't point that finger at Jordan, that she'll start ringing other bells, and she will sell her kids up under the bus as well. That woman's an extra kind of dangerous, and she needs to be where she is. And I just really feel bad for the family, because those children she has, they're alienated, and they're loved. Their early years, they were with people who really loved them, and they could have had this last year back and been working with program and been working with like how to fix this stuff, instead of allowing her to further damage them. It should have not been for another day. I have a serious beef with CPS on that issue.
Yeah, it's maddening. I mean, I know parents who have gotten a DUI not with their kids in the car and have had to prove more to CPS than Lindsay ever did, and it's absolute crap. Like, I don't understand it, and I never will.
Because we are talking about, regardless of no charges or anything, still there was a dead child found on your watch, and there's no explanation at this point how that child ended up dead. But he was in your care.
But it should have been until we're sure. You can have supervised visitation at our office, period. Until we are sure, which still would have given her all access to her kids without being able to further traumatize them, or be able to, manipulate situations with them to where there's some other issues where she could start ringing other bells. But she has it in her. She has no love for those kids. Those kids were grabbed and used maliciously. Those kids were a meal ticket. She found another meal ticket in Roman's dad. It's who she is. It's what she knows. She's never worked a day in her life for herself. She's always been on the take, what she can do for herself. And her kids are not excluded from the list of the people that she will damage on her way to what it is that she wants. She's that extra kind of evil.
What really sucks about that is that they, all this time, have a wonderful dad that would have made their lives completely different. And Christy's right. She is a special kind of evil. It just, the stuff that she's done even before the Roman, what she did to Roman, it's just, it's sick. And she should never leave behind bars. She needs to be in that orange jumpsuit for life, because she's dangerous.
I think Jordan's just as much of a predator. I mean,
Yeah.
in all truth, Jordan's just as much of a predator. He saw he saw Lindsay at that school trying to play single parent in need. I think he could see it. Narcissists have a way of picking the
Yeah.
ones. I think he latched onto that, found himself an opportunity with her. She was convenient. He didn't want Roman. He just wanted her away from his mother. So he found
Mm-hmm.
Lindsay. She's already doing this stay home mom bullshit. And so here comes
Yep.
Jordan. Perfect. I'll just dump the kid. I can go work and do what I'm doing on the road. And it absolutely works golden for two people with that type of mindset. Jordan is no different. Jordan has this showboater, big kind of ego. He's an extreme homophobe. He's just that guy. I think he's just extra about a lot of that stuff where he just has to play this macho role. He wasn't kind to Lindsay's children. She allowed for that. Now, keeping in mind Lindsay's young children, well, at this point they're 14, 16. Lindsay's sons are significantly larger than Jordan size-wise. Jordan's 5'4". The fact that those kids didn't whoop his ass and run goes to show how far badly these kids are damaged. They are damaged children.
Oh, can we also?
But
I just want.
think he saw the opportunity.
Yeah, I also want to give a really huge shout out though to Lindsay's sister, because we talk about their family and like whatever. Lindsay's sister Chanel
Oh,
from
that's
day
right.
one,
That's right. That's right.
like what a badass, right? Like who has the courage to come out and like speak against their family like that? And I have had in the last year, I've had to be really, really reserved and which I mean, I still am here. I'm a little more open, obviously, but sometimes I sit back and I'd be like, damn girl. Because I mean, she called it out and she was right on the money with everything she said. And that just goes to show like just how truly like messed up Lindsay is. They're both, her and Jordan both are are narcissistic sociopaths, both of them. And they fed off of that with each other and they spent their lives gaslighting other people. They're just aside from the physical and emotional, like other emotional abuse that they put on the kids, like to what they've done to so many other people, they are the most dangerous kind of criminals. Just awful.
And one of the things that Kristen's talking about there, I just went and found that real quick. So Chanel, the sister of Lindsay, actually shared out an article from the Sacramento Bee titled Exclusive Parents of 11-year-old Placerville Boy Roman Lopez Speak Out About His Death. And that's the article we've been talking about where Lindsay continued to say that they just woke up and he was missing, blah, blah, blah. So Chanel shared that article on Facebook, and with that post she wrote, latest article, my sister Lindsay, Jordan, and even my own mother Sherry will rot in hell for the way this poor boy was treated. They can go ahead and paint a pretty picture now. The truth will all come out. They will have to put their heads down on their pillows in guilt at night. What a disgrace they all were to him. I'm ashamed to admit they are my family. So according to Lindsay's own sister, their mother, Sherry, knew what was going on. It was evident what was going on, and that's where she stood on the entire situation. Do we know, did Chanel ever try and bring CPS into the situation or make any reports against them? Do we know?
I'm not sure. Yeah. I know that she wasn't around them much, so
I did see that.
that I know of. Yeah.
Well, and it kind of seems like, especially Roman in general, is really kind of almost like a hidden secret.
Oh,
like
no.
definitely...
I'm sorry. I just got a text message. She did make several attempts to alert CPS.
And I'm guessing it's one of those situations where
Which that just sent Christy into a, because I mean I didn't know that either, and I
kind of knew it in my mind.
I can't get the words out.
That's just me going, okay, so now it's confirmed, and they failed again. It's just more of that.
And I'm guessing with that, probably looking at the constant moving or just not answering the door, because that's one thing too. And some of the most horrific cases of a child being killed in their parents' custody and CPS trying to get involved, a lot of the times they just don't open the door, and it just kind of ends there. Some people don't realize that then they may do some follow-up phone calls, try and schedule some appointments, but there's a lot of times that if there's a closed door, it's just done. Here in my home city of Wichita, the former mayor's grandchild, Evan Brewer made national news for what Evan went through. Evan was actually found inside the house with the biological mother and stepfather, boyfriend, whatever you want to call him, and he was actually found encased in cement. It was months, and remind you, you're talking about a former mayor's grandchild.
I think I remember that.
I actually personally know the stepmother and the father, and it was months. It was months that they tried. They knew where they lived. They had sent the police there. They had sent CPS there, and there was nothing. There was just nothing, and it was all because they just kept the door closed, or they wouldn't respond, and that was how that played out. So that is something that does happen in these situations as well, because you'll hear people say, why didn't you step in and do something? And sometimes there just isn't, there's only so much you can do aside from kicking in a door yourself. And, I mean, it's...
Yeah. I wouldn't put it past Christy to do, though.
I have a toddler. Otherwise, I swear, I mean, I would have. I thought about it. Like I have, and I'm not that violent person. And once the baby was born, I'm like, I really weighed, like, what if I just show up? But in reality, we can't just be doing that stuff.
No, which I was not telling anybody to go out and do that or condoning those actions whatsoever. Just to be clear before.
No, it did cross my mind. I must say, just having them behind bars, like the relief, the roller coaster, like once I got that news, that was everything. That was for me. I could relax. The family could start their process of knowing that it's happening. It's never going to bring Roman back, but there will be some accountability. I do know some people, on Lindsay's, I don't want to say on Lindsay's side, but people who knew her from before that were pretty adamant that she has the power, the capability to get away with what she has done because of what she's gotten away with before. And
they were convinced she'd get away with it.
Right.
And I'm telling you,
that person owes me a steak.
Yeah, I was just going to tell you, I got a text message and he said you earned your steak.
I did. So for me, they're in jail now. It kind of sets everything out like the way many of us already knew. It's just been traumatizing. Everybody's on hold. Like, this is my neighborhood, and I'm just like a mom where if this was my family, I don't know how I would be reacting to all this. We can't speak on how things would go down. Like if it happened to us, we're all very, very different. And a lot of us wanted to know so much more, and we were annoying and I was annoying and I just wanted to know everything. I wanted to know absolutely everything that I could to know that Lindsay's going to jail, that Jordan's going to jail, that somebody is going to rot in prison for what's been done to this little kid. So it's just not something that leaves. I've not ever got involved, certainly this involved in a case before, but from the onset of him being missing, I live here. And so sharing the flyer, that's a no-brainer. He's a missing kid. And then within a split second, it went to all of this other crazy, like within the 18 hours. So it all happened. It all came at a lot of us so fast. I just wanted it to be done. And I did, and I did some of the wrong things, and I cussed the police commander. I just did a few of the wrong things, and that's okay. I know that they're doing what they're doing in the way that they're doing it for Roman, and I can now set my frustration aside and just sleep better knowing that they're not out there. They're not out there. They're not near that baby. They're not near other people's babies. They are not out doing what they were doing before. And that right now is like what's carrying me in this, because it's just, I feel like I've aged a decade in my 40th year, because it was all so consuming with all these extended players and talking to people constantly and learning new information, a lot of it not being able to share. And so this is a huge new thing and a huge new start for 2021, that all the right things are going to happen, and the patience paid off. And as frustrating as it was, the system in this case is working.
Did the family have any heads up? Did the family have any heads up that this was coming, or was this just like arrested?
We knew Wednesday night. They got arrested on. We knew the night before. I think it was Wednesday night, last Wednesday. I just know that they got a call like right before, and then they went in later that night.
And then, Christy, you were talking about this situation in general. So I think maybe I completely forgot about this as well. So Jordan's history, Jordan's parents. Do you want to touch on that at all? Just kind of a brief summary.
Jordan's parents. Jordan's father is a convicted child.
Do we have another hour?
Jordan's father is a convicted child rapist. I don't believe Jordan's parents, but mother, father were married. And she moved on to another relationship and had another child, and then got involved with another man who beat that child to death. And basically the article involving the story, this is 1988, so Jordan would have been, I'm gonna say 5, 6-ish. The article basically states that Jordan's mom just went back to bed after she heard about the abuse, or she heard the abuse in the home. Jordan's a bad apple. I mean, he's just a bad apple. I don't know if he was victimized, therefore turns around to victimize others. There's no sympathy. It doesn't matter to me. None of that matters to me. But now I can't speak for Jordan's family. I can speak on Chanel's family, that there are some good people. Chanel, Lindsay, Sherry are not. There are some good people in that family. So just because Sherry and Lindsay are so much alike, you'll also get that other family member who's flip opposite from them. So I can't speak on everybody in Jordan's family. I do know that his father's a bad apple and he's convicted and he pleaded guilty. So there is no disputing on whether the charges are true and correct. And I know that his mother has a history of allowing situations to occur. And I also know that she's an enabler of her son. They will go the distance in believing that he's 100% innocent. But that's just the sickness that, the cycles are broken today, so that's a big thing. There are no more, there's no more access to damage other children. Right now, it's about working the others through the grief and trauma that they've been exposed to. So this arrest just became so much more because of that. I just now the anxiety for me has lessened knowing that those kids are safe.
Mm-hmm.
They're now going to be put into the right hands. The spotlight is on the situation. They're now going to get the help and treatments that they need to work through, to be able to at some point be, adults in situations where others won't be traumatized because of what they went through. So I'm hoping for the best for all of them. I don't really have any more to say about any of the children that are involved, really. I don't believe that the infant should be in anyone's care. I think the best situation for that would be some CPS intervention. So I'm hoping that that's the case while they can work on figuring out why some things were overlooked and if he is in a situation that's safe. So I still kind of feel like there's another child to save, I guess. Yeah, I am not saying forever, but I do believe that his mother, based on the failure to respond to certain things that have happened right before, but that after the fact leaves some serious question whether she's capable of making the right decisions in order to protect a small person. And so she might be in need of some parenting classes and that sort of thing. So I'm hoping now, without mom in the picture, that they will get all of those things. And I just don't believe that they were getting what they needed prior to now. So as far as them going, nothing but hopes and prayers that everybody in that situation, minus Sherry, end up in safe situations.
There was one thing that somebody wanted me to touch on about Lindsay and the three kids that we were talking about earlier. The family member that has them now, that has them in their care, prior to this, prior to January 2020 even, tried to get Lindsay to give her the kids. Like I want to take care of them. They're my family. They're my blood. And Lindsay just straight up refused and played that family member and Kira and Jimmy like against each other. Like just totally played them against each other. So that, I mean, that's the, you can tell she had a plan for those kids, which is scary. Because, I mean, anybody who would refuse to give kids to their own family is so you can...
Yeah, holding on over the biological line, that's not...
Yeah. I didn't get that. It was a mess. I mean, I can't even imagine. I'm sure it was a huge mess. But I just wanted to note that because it was important to some family members that was put out there. And so
it's hopefully this tonight can act as like some sort of reference point to kind of hit all of the major spots, because this is a crazy situation. I've been doing this for 7 years off and on. I took a break there to take care of my grandma, and I don't even know. It's definitely a hell of a situation. This is the first time I've seen this many parents and everything come into just one death. It's crazy. It's crazy how this even got set up to this point.
Well, that's what we needed, the group and the flow chart, and like we had to have a map of whose kids was whose, and it was a lot. I mean, really, it's
I mean, there are people that like you don't even hear from that are still big players in like all of this, that aren't very like, public, and there's a lot of people involved for sure. I mean, Jordan's got some exes that have had to give information to the police. And I mean, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of people with information.
Well, and I honestly, another reason why I wanted to start getting like some background on this is because I really think during the trial, I have a feeling this is going to probably going to grab a lot of attention during that trial as more is just revealed and put together and actually released. So it's going to be something to watch. I would suggest people to pay attention to this case, and I mean, hopefully they do end up behind bars for the rest of their life, because that is where both Jordan and Lindsay need to be.
Yep,
100%.
definitely.
So is there anything with the family, anything that can be done to help? Is it basically just go into the group? I know they're kind of being standoffish and just not really...
I mean, if I could say one thing, is if you are just now hearing about this case, do not reach out and contact the family. The statements have been given. If you have any questions, the answers can be found in group. You can come to me. You can come to Kristen Jabs. Please respect the family's right to privacy. They aren't interested in having discussions. They don't want to be your friend. They just need to be left alone. I really would encourage people to just allow for that boundary and let this family heal, and just not try to find out more information. There isn't anymore.
Yeah, and I will say also to touch on that, like there are reasons why they have somebody like me in place, like because they want somebody to be able to speak for them. They don't want to continually answer questions. What I'm saying, like, don't really question like what I'm saying. Like, this is stuff that's been approved by the family. Whatever I say has been approved by the family, or it's stuff that we've talked about. One thing I will say is that I know that what the little admonishment that Christy and I just gave sounded probably a little harsh, like, well, okay, but I will say that the family, they are very appreciative of everybody's concern and care and love for them, especially in the community. This is something that I've told probably every single news reporter that I've talked to, but they never seem to air the like nice stuff. So it was really important to make sure that I get that out there, that they see how much people care. They see it, they appreciate it. I mean, that's what's gotten them through this past year. A lot of it is just knowing that there's so many people out there do care and they want to help. The Placerville community was so wonderful to Rochelle and her mom and sister when they came out. Places to stay, that sort of thing. They went above and beyond, and you don't really find that in a lot of places, So, and, so the law enforcement that got a bad rap, like, they really lived and breathed this case. And I know that they did. And it, for anybody, especially when you have kids, it's hard. And I know that those guys did. And Roman was pretty much their life for the last year. And we really thank them for that too. And we think, just everybody like putting word out there, Christy, starting the group and having like just a hub for people to get information rather than just having like even more wild speculation out there is helpful.
And that is it's just something that comes with these sort of things.
Yeah.
I saw you ask who in the right mind would contact the family. That would be crazy. It does happen. I've
often
been around the families enough with these different sort of things, and it might be something innocent, just like my condolences for your loss. But the thing is, you can just throw that on a post. Like, you don't need to message it. You don't need to reach directly out, because that's where you put yourself in that situation. Even if it's like a condolences thing, you're getting it from all these strangers from Facebook.
A year later, it's just not at this point.
it's
and coming to the group is monitored. Certain discussions aren't being had. We are not discussing the younger children. We have the information for you regarding the younger children. We need to let that be. We need to let those children thrive. We need to just, we need to do what Roman would have want us to do for them, and just, let certain aspects of this go, knowing that those kids are in good hands, being well taken care of, and just, hearing the stories as they come out, but approaching the family like you're going to get some kind of inside scoop. It's just not. It's extremely intrusive. So
Tacky.
it just needs to be left kind of to the group, and there's a whole lot of reading, but what exists is in there.
Well, and the hard part's over now. Like, Jordan and Lindsay are in custody, so they are going to go to trial. So inevitably, any questions that you have is going to become public info at some point of time. It's best to just wait until that point of time, because the hard part's over. They're in custody. Now it's just a waiting game. And again, anybody that missed earlier, no murder charge. There may be in the future. Doesn't matter. They got legally, they are right where they need to be. And we'll see where the charges grow and everything from this point. That is not a failure on anybody's part right now. That was actually a really good move, because they're in jail. They're not going anywhere. So
yeah.
So I think there, maybe, ladies, did we get just about everything that there is as of now?
Yep.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on, and I appreciate everybody that watched, anybody that popped over from Facebook, and my Facebook people. I'm sorry. I have no clue why this stream would be booted from Facebook. Maybe I'll let this one finish and I'll pull it off YouTube and go re-upload it on Facebook, because it didn't even send me a notification of why it got booted. So I'll try and figure that out. I can only imagine, like, I really don't even know why that would have been pulled.
I was trying to think of why also, and I don't.
Unless somebody's pissed off and was just doing a rage reporting thing.
The rage reporter's in prison or jail. No, I don't know. I can't think of what.
I'm drawing a blank on that one. That's the first time that
we got trumped.
Yeah, we got trumped there. But thank you guys for coming on, and same goes for you guys. I'll probably just
thank you for allowing.
Yeah.
Thank you for allowing this time. It kind of gets old. It's been way old, and I'm sure Kristen can understand people coming wanting information individually. So having a format just to lay out the timeline, I'm really appreciative of. So it just doesn't need to be told again. Here it is.
So glad. Yeah.
Here's the basis. That's all you're going to get. A lot of people want more information. I don't want to be asked about the younger children. Matter of fact, I don't want to be asked about any of the children. I don't want to know about any of the children until they are out from under Sherry's care. That's the next step, is for CPS to figure out what the hell their mistake was there, and get those kids into a place where they're in good hands. I don't think Sherry's not an option. So that's, there's some good things going to be coming of this.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan and Lindsay are where they need to be, and everything's working itself out. And now, mind you, we're thinking, we really wanted some news today about, when the preliminary hearing is coming. So now it's just, we're waiting. That's what we're doing. There's not going to be between now. Let's just give it a month. Unless Lindsay's reaching out to a reporter to dish it all out, we're not going to hear anymore until these next phases. So there are going to be gaps. They are still working. And so, this whole thing may drag out another year, another 2, but it's doing its thing.
Well, and we do have, with COVID on top of all that, God knows when the courts are going to be running at 100% again. So there are other factors. And
they're just starting to get back into, I think it got for civil trial, like even at work, I saw something. They're just starting to get back into doing like normal trials. And so, but still they're backlogged.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's going to take that was was really damaging to our legal system. It's going to take a minute to fix this last year.
Yeah.
Right.
But again, it can't be stressed enough that they're in jail. And
Yeah.
I think that bond is high enough. Like, does either...
They're not getting out.
Yeah. Neither family really comes from big money or anything, I'm guessing.
I keep hearing that Jordan's family may have the means. And I mean, like, he doesn't make crap money. You know, I mean, Lyman made pretty good money.
He didn't. Yeah, he was making good money from January of 19 until last week?
Yeah, but
So,
I mean,
it's not going to cover his attorney and bail. I know that.
Right.
But that's just some quick math right there. So I'm happy for that. It looks like they are sitting. We know they're at least sitting, through the next month or whatever. So
that does say a lot
I don't
there
think
too.
I don't think they'll ever see a public sidewalk again. That's just my take on it.
I think that kind of says a lot on their loyalty to each other, because Jordan grabbed himself a lawyer, but Lindsay's sitting there with that public defender. That I think that's kind of maybe the first warning signs that these two are about to turn on each other.
I will say though, the public defender that's listed on the court website on Lindsay's name, and I don't know if they list him automatically every time, because I believe he's like I think he's like one of the deputy public defender, but he's no joke though. He came from another county. He's good. Gotcha. He's good. I know everybody goes, public defenders, but
I'm not. There are.
No. I know. I'm just saying for out people in that this guy is actually he's well respected, but does say a lot that she is still stuck with a public defender, and he.
Yeah, that was my point. We had an attorney. I met one here actually one time, and he said that he chose to go the public defender route because he moved here from Germany, and he wanted to give back to the community, and that's why he didn't open his own firm. So there are. It's not like all public defenders are just horrible things. But no, it does, and that was my overall point. Just that Jordan was willing to pay for his attorney instead of their attorney. I think that might be a little red flag that they may start doing some turning on each other, because they both realize how deep of shit they're in. This is serious. And again, I can't stress that enough. There's not a murder charge, but the torture charge is life in prison. Right now, both of them, as the charges stand, are facing life in prison. So that's one of the biggest things that I really wanted to get through, with so many people mad that they don't see a murder charge. They're being charged with life in prison. That's what matters at the end of the day. The district attorney actually went pretty smart there. I have to admit, if they're missing those few details on them to get an actual murder charge, to hit them with something that's going to give them still a life sentence, that's pretty genius. They did good.
Yeah. The El Dorado County has an awesome district attorney. Vern Pearson is awesome.
That's a smart move. It was a smart move. He got him in jail. He got them looking at a serious sentence, and now they have the time to try and make it even more serious. So overall, everything is in as good of a place as it can be for such a horrifyingly just bizarre situation. I mean, my God, this is just it's a very odd situation.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate you guys. Again, the Christie's Facebook group is in the description. I'll try and get this back up over on Facebook. And Christie's group is 100% family approved. That's where you can get accurate up to you guys moderate it. You kick off fake anything. It's pretty well regulated.
Yes.
So
there's not a day I'm always in there. There's certain topics I'll drop you for. We're just not gonna keep going round and round over the same non-issue topics. So it's pretty streamlined. There's not a lot of activity. Matter of fact, the last few months it's been archived. We only actually opened it back up because there was an arrest, just so it would be easier for people to follow. if there's any issues, we could lock it down again. But as of right now, we're just watching and allowing a place for other people to watch and be respectful. And having that, and having support, and having belief that the system is working and that justice will be served.
Well, again, I appreciate both you ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Oh yeah, no, you guys are welcome back anytime too. As this moves forward and everything, you guys feel free. Maybe next time we won't get booted from Facebook. But I appreciate you guys. I appreciate everybody out there. There's that link in the description. Another thing, a couple of the articles and like the jail information that I showed as normal. There's not enough space in Restream for me to put all those links in. So after this video is done processing, I'll go back in and I'll add those links into the description so you can somewhat follow around some of the stuff that I showed earlier. There's links to support the stream. There's links to follow, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. All that is appreciated for all the supporters, and I'm sure Christy and Kristen both, anybody that does want to follow this situation, they welcome you with open arms into the group on Facebook, and just be respectful and be mindful.
Yep.
Thank you, Meko.
Hey, thank you guys.
Thank you.
And everybody have a good night, and we'll just
All
wait
right.
and see how this goes.
Mm-hmm.
Wait and see.